Whenever humanity experienced the huge growth, usually we needed more jobs and more people to handle this.
And every 10 years, it's like AI is taking our jobs, robots are taking our jobs.
In 95% of cases, you don't need AI agent right now. Besides, it's dangerous because AI agents are unpredictable. By the end of 20th century, we should probably work a couple of hours a week.
We are live. We are live. Thank you so much, Kamil Stanuch. I'm going to get your accent for joining me. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone for joining. Welcome to the Recruitment Show.
Thank you.
It's great to have Kamil. And I think we're going to talk about AI. And I know a lot of people have been talking a lot about AI, but I want to talk about it in relation to work. So by the end of this, and we're going to cover the impact of AI on work, careers. We're going to talk about jobs boards, AI selection, and also talk about what you can actually do, because a lot of people I speak with, they've got no idea what's going on. They don't even know, they don't know how to use it, what use cases there are, and things like that. And I'm a big advocate. I think you've got to use all the tools available. And I think the best thing you can do is use these things. So we're going to talk about what you can actually do now, and maybe just demystify things a little bit. And Kamil, when I let you introduce yourself, so you do a way better job than I will. But why don't you tell everyone kind of what you do, what your background is, and then we can dive into the conversation.
Sure. So thanks, Louis, for having me. Well, I spent half my life on the bright side, so I was running my own company, and we got acquired. It was an IT company, so we were just building software and apps for clients. And in 2016, we got acquired by a British company, London-based company from betting industry, which was later on, just a couple months later, acquired by William Hill, which I'm sure most of your viewers or listeners are familiar with. So I was the head of the tech center here in Krakow in Poland for William Hill. So it was quite a big tech center. So we hired a lot of people, all engineers. We got more than 400 people on board. And since 2021, I moved again to the bright side. So I semi-retired, so to say, and I focused on, well, people are trying to be mean to me, said that I'm trying to redeem sins for working at the betting industry. So I moved to angel investing, which doesn't differ that much from betting, because you bet money and you hope to see them back, and the chance is low. But I'm also, well, I love automations and playing with data. So I'm also advising clients, and I love working with startups, with corporations. And given the recent hype around LLMs, AI, I think that's a great space to explore and help companies how to wrap their heads around this concept, especially when it comes to, I don't want to say automation, but augmentation and augmenting their output and throughput.
And when you say that, you mean humans and AI, humans and technology together?
Oh yes, definitely. I mean, well, contrary to popular belief, I believe that whenever the humanity experienced the huge growth in terms of automation, in terms of productivity, usually we needed more jobs and more people to handle this. So I think it's constant, and I wouldn't be worried about people not having jobs. I mean, it was, Keynes, I think he predicted that, well, by the end of 20th century, we should probably work a couple of hours a week. It's totally opposite, right?
That would be nice. That'd be nice.
That would be nice, right?
But no, there was a good World Economic Forum report, and I think, I mean, you see so many reports about this, but I think net they were saying something like 70-something million extra jobs will be created by the end of this year. I mean, who knows? But it's interesting because I think human nature is to be a little bit fearful. I always have this image in my head of like someone in the field and the combine harvester coming down the track, and it's like, oh my God, that will never take my job, and just the fear of it. And there was also, I need to find it, and I'll post it in the comments. But there's a wonderful website that has the headlines of the major newspapers throughout history. I think you've seen it. And every 10 years, it's like AI is taking our jobs, robots are taking our jobs, robots taking over. So it feels like it's been, we've been talking about this for a long time. But I think maybe the difference now is that, and again, maybe it's because we're living through the time, but advancements in technology, in AI, in language models, in processing, all of these things, seems like it's been so quick this last year or two. It feels incredible. And I think a lot of people, if they've been out of the workforce or they've just missed the boat a little bit, so many things. I spoke to a lady the other day and she took maternity leave and she just came back and she's like, oh my God, I've missed so much stuff. So the pace as well, I think, is.
Oh yes. I think the pace is a crucial part of this, because it's a shock. It's not a gradual, something is, I don't know, in the 18th century you get a steam machine, a steam engine. You get small improvements from time perspective, right? From in hindsight, that were small ones, but at this time, and the reaction was the same. Well, people were the ludist, right? Would destroy the machines, thinking that they will take their jobs. But I think it's, I think that's the same story, every period of time when people are shocked. But at the end of the day, nothing will change that much. I know it's I might sound a little bit contrarian, and it might be also a sensational headline that nothing will change. I think a lot of things will change, but every time humanity experienced a leapfrog when it comes to productivity, I think it was just the bar that goes higher. It's when it comes to engineering and software engineering. I think there were times where engineers didn't have access to Google. I mean, before LLMs, Copilot, Cursor, and other large language models, developers and software engineers, they used Stack Overflow, Google, or GitHub to use libraries. Right, you get such a huge amount of tools.
Yes.
On top of that, you had YouTube, and there were always a guy who got 100 followers on YouTube, and he was making a video that solved exactly your problem, right?
Yeah.
The small one, right?
True.
And he was from India or from Poland or somewhere else, and now. But even back then, well, people struggle with learning how to code, right? You remember what were the salaries in 2021 for juniors.
Crazy.
Now,
crazy.
Right, crazy. Now it's really hard to get into job because the bar just got higher. I mean, what you expect from junior is the same what you probably expected from mid or senior developer 3 years ago, and the same thing goes for, I don't know, maybe seniors and juniors 10 years ago. When we started our company over 15 years ago, I think most students, graduates after university, they didn't know how to maybe deploy an app, how to use AWS, Heroku, or any other services, which is very practical, because at the university you were taught something different, and now it's like common knowledge. I mean, if you apply for a job, you should know how to do this stuff. So on that note, I think I'm more optimistic that it will just increase the bar. I think even for copywriters, which nowadays you can say that 99% of your job can be automated, but I think it's still those 5% or 10% of, I don't know, tacit knowledge or latent knowledge, something that is hidden, something that is completely unique of a human. And I think in your business, in the recruitment business, yes, for searching candidates, AI can help. For browsing
Yeah.
candidates, screening through CVs, yes, absolutely. But good luck with approaching an executive if you're looking for for candidate for executive job and sending an AI agent to that, right?
Yeah.
No, you need a
Yeah, no,
human.
it's interesting. Well, let's talk about that. I mean, I think just finishing off the, if you're in the camp of, oh my God, it's taking my job. I think your message is good. I think there's probably, to sum up what you're saying, there's a bit more inertia in the world, right? Things take a little bit longer to actually to come through. I mean, some things are quick, but I think with work and things, yeah, humans, we do have certain latent knowledge of different stuff, and I think it will take a little bit longer, and I think there's a place for us. And I think the challenge for an individual is just thinking through, well, where is my place in this world?
That's
yeah,
that's a very good point.
Yeah, and it's scary, like I think, you could be mid-career, you could be at the end of your career, hey, you could even be at the beginning of your career, it doesn't matter, but you can be like, oh my God. And I think also to say it's quite natural, those feelings, we all have them, and they're natural and they flow through us. And I think for me, all you can do is just keep learning, try new stuff. And and then the human aspect for me is networking, like keep speaking with people, opportunities present themselves, you learn stuff. And I would do that. There's some of the things that I would.
Yeah, I think when it comes to AI and, for example, product management, most those LLM-based tools are really good at delivering, performing tasks, research. This is one thing, right?
Yeah.
But research, but what to research? So discovery. This is something that is very unique. I mean, you need to have an insight. If you think about best founders, they have a very unique insight about something, about a particular vertical, particular industry, or particular pain. Someone who assumes, I can straight away tell that someone has never hired a person or never worked in recruitment. If this person comes to me and thinks, and they are building a new ATS, or that they're going to automate everything, and that we're going to reach out to candidates. No, that's not how it works. I mean, that's doable. LinkedIn offers you those tools, right?
Yeah.
And so in terms of delivery, yes, it speeds up. In terms of discovery, I think still we need human to make decisions. And I think another thing to look at the spectrum of automation is to look at the two axes. So one is, we always think about complexity of the task. Yeah. It's like a little bit of technical bias, right? Like tech solutionizing through tech, right? That everything, if you have a hammer, everything is nailed, and we can do everything using technology, right? Well, the anecdote is that yes, I was able to make a coffee for a long time. I've been able to do that. I can use a vending machine, but there is a reason why I go to cafeteria and I want a barista to make me a coffee, because that's experience, right? I'm not someone who assumes that we're Homo economicus and totally rational. Well,
also, I think a good point. Also, just to add, like, people get a bit carried away with all of this, all the tech and all of the software, and it's all software as a service now. It's like, oh, I'll add it and add it and add it. I think a lot of businesses, you don't need so much. You just need some good stuff, some good tech. And actually, to your point about complexity, I think actually, so some of the there's quite a lot of interesting AI tools that like manage your emails and manage your time management thing. Wonderful stuff. So not complex, but how impactful. Organizing.
Exactly.
Yeah, like organizing your emails and writing responses for you. So I'll come into my drafts and it'll all be written, and I'll check them and I'll send it, and it learns how I like to write, and that's big. That's big. That saves me an hour or two a day.
Yes, but at the same time, look at another dimension, complexity and risk. And they are not totally correlated. What AI and LLMs really thrive at is complex tasks which are not risky. I'll give you an example. So, for example, you have a very complex task like doing a research, or maybe planning a route. I don't know, you, Louis, you're planning your business trip to Krakow to meet clients, right, from London. And okay, you need to come out with all those connections, choose a hotel, which one, this and that, right? But when it comes to risk, well, the risk is controllable, so to say.
Yeah.
And this is something that AI can do, or a chatbot, which will tell you, okay, how to do a particular, I don't know, how to do a transfer in your bank because you forget how to do it. But there are tasks which are really simple but super risky. For example, deleting clients' data in your database. This is just one click, but the risk and the impact is huge, and you need a human in the loop for that.
Yeah.
And this is something that will be, or I don't know, giving you a pill, right? If you're a doctor or a nurse, super simple. But the risk is huge.
Yes.
And I think we need to keep that in mind. And I think also that the more automation we have, or we are surrounded, of course, we're gonna look for a human touch, and that will go in price. It's a Baumol cost disease. So Baumol in 60s, he noticed, he was in orchestra, and he noticed that those players, these guys who play flute or I don't know, cello, they didn't improve their productivity since 19th century. They haven't moved, right? But their salary increased because, well, otherwise you wouldn't have a job, right? If it was attached to the productivity. And some jobs, they benefit from this so-called Baumol cost disease. It's a nurse, it's a teacher, but it's all about human touch. And this, even those 2 or 3%, which are like, it's like a black swan concept, right, by Nassim Taleb. So the probability is really small, but the impact is exponential, and you don't want it to happen.
True. No, true. Very true. Very true. Just wanted to chat about, we talked about a little bit earlier, but just how the recruiting process, and just thinking through, like, if someone's looking for a job right now, and just to paint the scene. So you have, you want to be found. So we talked about LinkedIn a bit. LinkedIn have ChatGPT and whatever. They have this LinkedIn Recruiter product, and the first screen now is some AI and stuff. So you've got sourcing tools looking for people. And so as an individual wanting to be found, you need to make sure that your AI has optimized your LinkedIn profile, so LinkedIn's AI will find you, and you need to be found, right? That's one thing. Secondly, is if you're applying for adverts and there's lots and lots of people, generally most large companies and ATSs, which are applicant tracking systems for those that don't know, will use some kind of AI or algorithm to screen. And to, so again, if you don't have the keywords, you won't pop up, you won't be speaking to a human. So I think that's the kind of scenario, and I think a lot of people feel it's a bit of a black hole. It's like, oh my God, how do I even go about doing that? Any advice for folks?
Well, I think we should change a little bit the way we're framing this problem, or maybe the way we frame the whole situation. Because I would say straight away, well, maybe instead of focusing on your knowledge capital and what you offer as an employee, given the fact that everyone maybe using AI will offer the same skills, right? Because this is like a leveling event, to say. Maybe you should focus also on your network, on your social capital. Knowing recruiters. So, for a couple of years, developers and software engineers were like trying to get rid of recruiters. I remember those those descriptions.
How dare they?
How dare they, right? Recruiters, don't reach out to me, right?
Yes, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Interesting how tables turned. Right?
Always be nice to people, because there's
Always
a
be
wonderful
nice.
thing called karma.
Oh yes, you see, and I think at the end of the day, it's a human who makes decision about even in this AI world, you have 3Ds. So data, domain, decision. Data is, do you have a unique data set? Domain is how focused on a particular domain you are. So this is that gives you an edge. And the third is decision. So decision, it's a human in the loop. Someone needs to make decision, final decision. And I think in this case, I think it's easier right now, and this is a very specific time right now, because it's an employer market. It's a shift at the moment, right?
It's depending on where you are, but definitely absolutely. I generally agree.
Or it's shifting toward currently, or maybe it's finding an equilibrium, because for a long time we've been tilting toward employee market. So I think that's one thing. I think that maybe the second thing new employees should focus on. I wouldn't totally focus on AI skills. I think that's a gimmick. I think I would just go back to basics. That will give you an edge. What I mean by that is, I think humanity would have been already on Mars if, instead of giving everyone access to ChatGPT, would teach everyone at least 2 formulas in Excel.
Right.
I think I think AI it's great there is such a hype around that, and everyone's thinking, hey, what should I do? I should probably learn how to craft prompts, etc. But it's like looking. I think most people just look in the sky and see, wow, there was a plane flying over the city, and they realize, wow, we can move from point A to point B, and plane is just a way to do that very fast, and AI can help you with that like a plane. But unless you're Taylor Swift, well, you don't need to use a plane to travel from one end of the city to another one. You should probably take a tram or a subway, right, or a car, or ideally bicycle, right, or maybe take a walk. And I think it's the same, that automation is a spectrum. So adding everywhere AI, maybe it can help, but in many cases, it's just overkill. I think in 95% of cases, you don't need AI agent right now. Besides, it's dangerous because AI agents are unpredictable. I mean, LLM.
What are AI agents? Just for those that are just
sure. So it's another So it's another buzzword. I tend to say that 2023 there was a prompt for that. In 2024 there was a chatbot for that, and 2025 there's an AI agent for that. And AI agent is just I think the official description explanation is that it's a system that can reason and take actions based on the goal provided. What we mean by that is that a normal LLM like ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, when you ask it how to make a tea, it will probably give you an instruction.
Yeah.
AI agent can take actions. So imagine that you ask AI agent, prepare me a tea. And AI agent uses LLM as a brain, so ChatGPT, and it will probably list a list of tasks. So, okay, I need to go to the kitchen. I need to take a tea bag. I need to boil water. pour it and come back and bring Lewis a tea, right? So this is the case of AA agent. I think you already mentioned that you're automating a lot of emails you get your mailbox, and this is an interesting case for AA agents. So AA agents use a large language models, but it has access to your mailbox, or if it needs to do a research, it got access to Google search. If it needs to update Google Calendar, it will update your Google Calendar, right? And AA agents can grow in complexity and so on. And yes, and there is a huge hype around AA agents right now because it sounds like magic. So finally, we have a Siri that actually works.
Yeah.
Right? But adding everywhere AI and AA agents, I think it's overreaction. There is a nice framework to look at such a breakthrough technologies is adaptation, evolution, revolution. So when we look at 2010, right? That was a mobile revolution. So 2 years after iPhone, I think everything was turning into mobile. Mark Zuckerberg said that. So we are right now a mobile company. Facebook, it was back then Facebook, not Meta. And so adaptation is, let's say, New York Times just make a mobile app. This is a simple adaptation. So we use the new tech and adapt it. The evolution, I think, is Instagram was Instagram. So it was evolution of Flickr, which was the way to collect your photos. You were able to do that before Instagram. Take a photo and post it online. But true revolution was, I think, Uber, which embrace the full potential of mobile, and Uber hadn't been possible before mobile revolution, because clicking with one button, locating you in particular part of the city and getting you a car, that was possible with mobile, and Uber really harnessed the full potential of mobile.
Yeah, that's true.
So I presume we should also think about new possibilities for LLMs, with not only with LLMs, but if you look at generative AI, like voice generation, image generation, video generation, but also there are lots of like silent revolutions in the backend. So OCR, the technology that allows you to read. Scan and read the text. Right?
What does this OCR stand for?
OCR. What is this stand for? Optical something reading? I don't know.
Okay.
we should Google that.
OCR. Here you go. OCR definition: optical character recognition.
Recognition. Yes, optical character recognition. Right. And for years, I've been struggling with that. Companies were optimizing this. You're paying for OCR on your mobile phone, and now, just like out of the blue, you realize that LLMs, the multimodal models like Gemini, Mistral, they can handle this.
It's amazing.
And it's cheap. Mistral scanning 2,000 pages costs $1. 2,000 pages. Right, costs $1, and it's super accurate. Why it's accurate? Because it not only scans the image, right, and recognizes characters, but it also improves and predicts. Okay, if there is something missing, I would probably add a letter.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, it doesn't. No, it can induce. I love that. And then let's really interesting that, because let's bring it onto all these different AI tools and what one uses. Because I was speaking to someone the other day and they're like, well, what do I use?
Yeah.
And where do I even start? And what I find, I was interested to hear your thoughts on this, but there are so many good ones right now. Like, I would say good ones, like the chatbots and the language models. So I'm using just myself. I started using ChatGPT. This is a while ago. And then we use Google for workplace. And so they have Gemini. And Gemini is baked into every single one of our tools. So they have a chatbot, which is wonderful. So the model is 2.0 now, which is really good.
Yeah.
And then it's in our Gmail, it's in our Google Sheets, it's in everything. So, and it's in Google Meet. I mean, we have that. Then like Claude, so which is Anthropic, which Amazon have invested a lot in. For those that don't know, is also regarded as a wonderful model. And then you have Elon Musk's XAI, which has just released Grok 3, which is incredible. And then you have all the Chinese models as well. You have DeepSeek and a bunch of others. And so I don't know about everyone else, and I don't know about you, but I'd like to hear this. But I'm using everything. They're all wonderful. They're all pretty much just as good as each other. It's hard to tell the difference. And they have these, they have the charts, and someone's better at programming than someone else, and this, I mean, it's all marginal stuff, right? But for an individual like me or anyone else, where they're trying to think about, well, I need to use it for work. So to your point, it's wonderful at reading lots of data and giving you summaries, things like that. I use Perplexity a lot now. It's my favorite, and you can choose the models. So they have all of the models, and you can choose what to use. And if you've never seen DeepSeek or whatever and go through the reasoning steps, jump on and it's incredible to see the thought process. And then you have all of these deep research tools now, which again, I think every model has introduced one now. And they're absolutely incredible. And they are, so let's say I want to know what the state of the exec search industry over the next 5 years. I'll jump onto it could be I've been using Perplexity, but ChatGPT have a deep research, and Gemini has one. They all have it, and the amount of data it gets through, and to compile a long, very detailed answer that you probably would have had to spend £1 million with McKinsey to have got something similar is unbelievable. So I mean, it's just so I don't know. I think they're all $20 a month or whatever. They're all good. I think it's and then I know Elon Musk, for half the population in the world, he's not very popular. For other half he is, but I think just if you haven't tried Grok 3 on X, it's very interesting, because if you jump on X now and you find a post, there's a little button that you can press which is the XAI thing. It will then take that post, and Grok 3 will tell you exactly what it's about and what's going on, and just based on other research. I mean, it's some amazing tools now that if you're, even if you're using it for work, just go and just dive in. Anyway, it's a bit of a minefield of stuff, but I'm kind of using everything. What do you think?
So, I think my set of tools is pretty the same. On top of that, I also use Cursor, which is a programming environment for coding. So this is amazing. It's and again, Cursor is their improvement is UX. So they use a VS Code, which is an open source. Every developer uses this for coding, and they just added a simple feature which helps you edit code with AI. And they add AI agent, which can generate the code. I also use Replit, which is both agent and a way to deploy your app. So using just one click, you can build the whole scaffolding of the project and deploy it. So it's amazing, right? But to your point, and so one thing is, yes, I use a variety of tools. So Claude is great for copywriting. If you are not a native speaker, then I think Claude is great. As I'm not a native speaker, I always ask ChatGPT or Claude, okay, does it sound natural? Is it okay? Is it stylistically correct? Right? Or how to make it sound natural? Because I might be making some mistakes. Which is funny, because I remember a friend of mine told me that when ChatGPT was introduced, suddenly the people from outsourcing centers from around the world, they start writing emails like English writers.
But way better than me. I mean, amazing. It's amazing.
Start receiving like you're reading Oscar Wilde.
Also, it's great. And what a fantastic way to learn as well. I mean, wonderful learning tool.
Yes. And for programming as well. I mean, like my knowledge, my cut of knowledge when it comes to programming, I think was 2013, right? So sometimes and right now, I think you can become more or less language agnostic when it comes to programming. But you can, every time it writes me or build me a component, sometimes asking, okay, could you explain it to me how it works? What is it? What sort of libraries you use? So switching between tools, definitely. I think also that before you jump to any tool, maybe it's good to just analyze, like do a list of your tasks. Just rewrite your job description again. Make a list of the tasks and responsibilities and think, okay, is there anything I can improve in the way I do this? I mean, like, see, okay, how many times I do this a week? Is it a task that I do weekly, daily, fortnightly, monthly, and so on? And don't focus on AI or LLMs, because, before that, there were plenty of tools like Zapier, N8N, Make.com, which is just connecting blocks. If you get an email from this, then do that. If and so on. So focus on basics. Come back to basics, and then on top of that, start thinking, okay, can I add LLM over there? I think the worst thing that you can do is to try to fly before you learn how to walk. I mean, you can clearly see that if someone never posted on LinkedIn, they write a super post, right? They post an article in perfect English with nice emojis. Every word is capitalized. You can straight away that's Jesus. This is generated.
Absolutely. And if you live in the UK, change the Z's to S's. Because
right. And maybe instead of pounds, use quids.
Exactly. But no, to your point, sorry, go on.
No, just wanted to add one thing about Perplexity and deep research. I think it's a tool. At the end of the day, it's a tool. I would say I don't want to diminish that, because it's great to give you an overview. But I think it's ultimately a tool to structure the knowledge, because this tool got an access to knowledge that is already accessible. So to use the market terminology, it doesn't give you a fully alpha, like the information is already there. What I mean by that is that, well, you can do a report about executive search, and everyone can access that. But probably only a person like you who spent years in this business and been living in London knows which cafeteria or restaurant you should go on Wednesday evening to meet execs and executives from particular industry. And this is a tacit knowledge. And this is what companies are paying.
Absolutely, you're right. So to your point, if I'm doing a report, let's say part of the report is just I need to go through hundreds and hundreds of bits of data to compile it. But then also I want to add my own unique proprietary knowledge. I can then keep on prompting and keep on building my report and things like that. So I think everything, you got to take everything with just I think for me it's very interesting to go through large amounts of data. And to summarize things, and I won't have the time to read through hundreds and hundreds of pages of something. So it's wonderful to summarize things and so using it for things like that, or maybe hey, maybe you're dyslexic or something. It's just so hard to read so much, and it's very slow.
Sure.
So so there's a lot of really interesting use cases, and I think again it's bespoke to you, and you use something depending on what job you do. you know, like you're coding, you're using it a lot, you're hardcore into the coding. I mean, I've never coded in my life. Maybe I will never have to. I just know how to prompt it. But you know, like, because you're deep in that, and then so yeah, I think just, you know, the message is, I think
it's opposite. You will start coding sooner than later, and that's the paradox. That's another paradox of increasing productivity. It's a Jevons paradox. So Jevons, he noticed in 19th century that contrary to popular belief that if engines became more efficient, then the demand for the fuel will go down, right? People believed in that. They said, no, it's the opposite. I mean, if engines become so efficient, everyone will get an engine. So everyone will start using engine because it's going to be so cheap. So there's going to be more demand for oil and fuel. And I think that's the same thing with programming, with engineering, with AI. I mean, look, 30 years ago, you would probably need 30 people to build an e-commerce. Even I think 25 or 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, it's 5 minutes on Shopify, but you still need more and more engineers than that. Why? Because, again, the bar went higher because demand is bigger. I don't know how many internet users we have right now in the world, but it's I don't know, 4 or 5 billion. So we still have 3 or 4 billion people to jump on the wagon and use internet. So and as for the programming, I think because it's becoming so accessible, more people the barrier to entry will go down.
You're right. I mean, absolutely. If these tools weren't here, and you're like, and I'm thinking, I quite like to code, my first thought is, it's a big time investment.
Big time.
Do I have the time?
Yeah.
And so my answer will be either yes or no. And now for me personally, do I have the time to learn how to code? No. I'm doing other things, and I'm running a company.
And is it the best investment, right? What's the opportunity cost?
Yeah. Whereas now, suddenly I'm like, I'd really like to develop an app or something. Then I'm thinking, well, how long is that going to take me? Suddenly, if I know how to use these tools, not going to take me very long at all. Yeah. But if I don't know how to use them and I actually need to code, I just even wouldn't try, right? Like, it's just too much of a. So it's really interesting. I think just winding up on this, and then we touched on the beginning, and I agree with you on this. It's like the human stuff. You know, we talked a bit about, you know, AI finding you for a job and whatever, and I wanted to finish pulling that thread of actually, and you mentioned networking a little bit and stuff, but I would say, you know, while tech is doing its stuff, I would quadruple down on the human stuff, and I think, and I think you're right. You know, like, the difference that makes a difference is often you, the individual, the human. You know, getting a job, landing a job. I mean, we just kind of talked about almost we're talking about coding. Everyone, let's assume you're using the same tools as everyone else, and your coding's probably going to be. It's, you know, what's the difference that makes the difference? And I think, you know, the human stuff, the interaction, getting on with folks and things, and then also following on from that, interesting to hear, is again finding a job. I don't know if anyone read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Have you ever said it? Sun Tzu, great, 13 essays or more, and one of them. Don't ask me what the one was. One of them is just picking your battles, choosing battles and things that you're going to win. And I think the thing that you can do that's in your control is networking, is staying in touch with people, is doing good in the world, being nice to folks, and you know, going really hard on that. And you'll probably find opportunities that they haven't even gone out anywhere. It's, Kamil, I really loved working with you last year. Of course, I want you on my team. I don't need to find anyone else. You're in. And that's kind of, you know, that's something that you can control, I think.
Yes, and you see, I think it summarizes really well this paradox that when everything becomes like the same because of technology, so everything is like getting into the same level. It's leveling experience. That's what I mean by that. Then this human factor, the protein factor, which is totally uncontrollable, starting to play a role here, and it's also liberating because you see, I think that it will sound very philosophical, but I think the development of humanity, I think also like revolves around liberations, becoming more free. What I mean by that is that you're becoming free from constraints, free from nature, free from diseases, and so on. And maybe AI will free us from assholes, right? You don't. I don't need to hire this guy or this person because he or she is an expert. But Jesus, working with this person is a nightmare because I can go for someone who's maybe 10% worse bad access to new tools and AI. That will probably balance it out.
Yeah. It's also nice to know. It's also nice to know, I think, that you have some degree of control.
Yes.
Like you can do things to, in a work context, you can go learn, you can choose to, you can build good relationships, you can make friends with people, you can do good. And there are things that you can do. And I think, who knows, maybe, maybe in a few years' time, I know you've got AI only companies and there's no human and you can never get in. And I'm sure that will be the case at some point. But anyway, right now, there's a lot of jobs require humans. And I think there's a lot that is in our control. And I am very optimistic about the future. I'm an optimist. So, I'm looking, I'm living for today, enjoying the moment and looking ahead with optimism and,
Same here.
Enthusiasm.
Same here. I'm full of optimism, and I believe that great times ahead of us. Bumpy, given the recent events, but I think all in all, I think we're heading in a better direction. And I think maybe last thing from me, maybe AI will allow us to also change the framing of looking at the progress, because for over the last 30 or 40 years, I think we're so focused on GDP, economical factors. I mean, if it doesn't increase GDP, why should we do this? It's like we, are stuck in Thatcher and Reagan era. But I think maybe AI will also allow us to look at other aspects. So, our GDP is not that high, but we're happy. We live longer. Like US is the, what they say, that it's the richest third world country. Is the
I think I think happiness is a big thing, and you get caught up. People get caught up in the rat race of constant growth. Or if you're in tech, you got to make it. You got to sell, right? It's like you're raising. You're making no money. You're raising every 18 months. Got to sell. Got to have an event. It's all about growth. It's all about, and it's like the modern day rock stars, like the tech entrepreneur. It's all on social media, made a billion. So I think you can get caught up in that. And I think there's so much value. And it's not, and people mistake this for not being ambitious, and it's not true, is that you can build a really good career, you can earn good money, and you can be really happy, and you're winning.
Yes, especially if, look, just a thought experiment. Right now, we are working 5 days a week. So it's like 5 out of 7. So that gives more than 50%, around 60-70% of your life consists of work. But what when it goes to 4-day week? What it goes to 3-day week? When it goes to 3-day week, you're gonna have 4 days of free time. And if your hobby is playing football, but you work as an accountant, so maybe you should introduce yourself as I'm a football player, but in my free time, I work as an accountant.
I love that. Whether it's going to go to 3 days a week, I think the jury is out. I know a lot of countries and companies that have been trialing it. There's a lot of debate, and whether that is actually, I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see. I mean, you know what? Like, I love my job. It doesn't feel like work, and it's great fun. And I do it a lot. And I don't know. We'll see. I think we'll see where it lands. So
just a fun experiment.
Yeah, I love that. Well, Kamil, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It was a great chat.
Thanks for having me.
We'll do it again.
Oh, hopefully.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much.